My name is Matt and welcome to PrepLounge's Getting You There video series aimed at successfully placing you in a role at a top consulting firm. In this video, we are looking at different case types. Case interviews are used during the selection process at top consulting firms the world over. They are either interview-led or candidate-led, and within this context, there are three main case categories: market sizing, business situations, and other cases. We will take a closer look at these categories in this video and offer some instruction on how to approach them. Candidate-led case interviews. These are the most common case interviews. The key challenge here is structuring the problem. You, the candidate, leads the case by asking relevant questions, as well as developing and testing solid hypotheses. A candidate-led case usually has the following characteristics. Candidates get a very broad description of a situation. For example, your client is a chewing gum manufacturer and wants you to find out why they are experiencing a declining profit margin. There is a very general question or no question at all. The interviewer gives the candidate complete freedom in terms of the approach and the structure. Data and information is mostly provided at the candidate's request. This type of interview case is more difficult for the interviewer in terms of testing specific abilities, as it's the candidate that defines what they want to investigate or talk about. It means you need to be strong in defining and testing hypotheses. A clear roadmap that allows you to ask targeted questions is vital, as bombarding your interviewer with random questions hoping for a lucky punch is a big no-no. Interviewer-led case interviews. In interviewer-led cases, the key challenge is to adapt quickly and be structured. An interviewer-led case has a very specific case question. Candidates get data with breakdown of sub-problems or a broad problem to structure as specifically as possible. There's lots of data given throughout the case, for example, tables or graphs. A set of predetermined interviewer questions. Beware, they can be curveball questions. There are interviewer-induced interruptions. You receive "what else?" and "please explain in more detail" type of questions. In these more direct interviewer-led cases, there is a tendency for candidates to become passive and unstructured as the interviewer takes a more direct approach to test for weaknesses. But you also have to have a leader hat on. Be particularly structured, be prepared for interruptions, and anticipate that the interviewer might disprove a hypothesis or force you to develop a completely new framework. So, what are the three main categories of cases? They are market sizing, business situations, other cases. 85% of all cases you encounter in your interview process are about market sizing or business situations, so we advise you to focus on these during your preparation. Market sizing. Sometimes known as guesstimates, these cases, standalone or part of a larger interview, are used by all top-tier consulting firms as they require a mix of logic, math, and common sense. Business situations. Here, you crack cases around market entries, new product launches, new business, etc. If you get a case that asks whether a party should open a new shoe factory in China, it becomes a combination of market sizing and business situation. Other cases. Some cases don't fit into the other two categories. There's no specific framework, mostly financial cases or Brainteasers. Here, you need to get creative and come up with unique and individual solutions. Let's take a closer look at solving these categories. Approaching market sizing. Typical examples for pure market sizing cases would be: how many fridges are there in India? How big is the US diaper market? How many golf balls fit in a Boeing 747? We recommend an issue tree or a table for market sizing questions. Learn one if you are short of time, but mastering both will make life much easier. An issue tree or logic tree is the visual breakdown of a question into its component parts. You start at the top with your main problem, for example, how many cars are manufactured in Germany each year, and work your way down by breaking into smaller singular parts. For example, the number of manufactured cars in Germany depends on the number of cars provided to the German population, plus the number of cars that are exported. Then dig one level deeper by focusing on what factors help you determine the number of cars provided to the German population, and so on. When defining your categories, always try to segment based on the MISI principle, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. This means they cover all aspects without overlapping. For example, people under 40 and people aged 40 and over would be MISI. People under age 40 and people above 40, not MISI, as those aged 40 are excluded. Start with your goal at the top and then work your way down, but don't add any numbers just yet. Break your problem into smaller single MISI parts. In our jumbo jet example, work your way down by breaking up the volume of the jumbo jet and the golf ball. After you've created your structure, plug in the numbers and do your calculations bottom up. Do a sanity check at the end to make sure your conclusion fits the problem and is reasonable. If you think your numbers are off, just let the interviewer know and work through your issue tree branch by branch to identify wrong assumptions or calculations. The following illustration shows an issue tree to estimate how many gas stations can be found in Paris. If you are breaking a data set down, a table is a good but less used alternative to an issue tree. For example, the interviewer has asked you to estimate how many people go swimming each week in the UK. In this case, it is beneficial to use a table in order to segment the people by age group and treat each group on its own merits. We may estimate the answer using the following table. It's really important to check your answer during a market sizing question, as it is a test of your business acumen. For example, the interviewer can see the latter is lacking if you state something like global freight market is worth 1 million euros. There are two other variants to market sizing: the market entry and new product cases. Those are a combination of a market sizing and a business scenario case. They are common in consulting because they are vital to company growth. Typical business situation cases would be cases around growth strategy, profitability, or competitive response. Cases involving mergers and acquisitions, pricing and valuation, or private equity often stem from business situations like growth strategy, where it is determined that mergers and acquisition would be a viable option. Capacity change and supply and demand are two special cases. Here, you will not construct a standard business situation framework, but something tailored to capacity, for example, using a supply and demand chart. Business situation cases are a little bit more complex than market sizing cases. Let's look at some examples. IKEA has been facing a steady decrease in sales. Procter & Gamble wants to diversify its business and enter the packaging industry. Is that a good idea? Bain Capital wants to buy 10% of Dropbox for 300 million. Is that a good deal? Should UPS really merge with TNT? There are actually a number of frameworks which you can rely upon to tackle business situation cases, but be aware that they should only serve as guidance and orientation. You need to construct your own framework, but call it an approach or strategy. Let's look at some of those main frameworks in more detail. If your business situation problem is only quantitative, for example, reduce the costs of the company, then most of the time you should create a profitability framework. These types of cases are pretty common ones in case interviews, as they are also very common problems in the business world. During your case interview, your approach should be twofold. 1. Perform a structured and quantitative analysis of the data to isolate the problem. 2. Find a promising solution to the problem. A profitability case is always about maximizing profits. As you know, profit is determined by revenue minus costs. So you can either solve the case by figuring out a way to increase revenue, or by lowering costs, or by using both. A profitability case uses a specific form of an issue tree. Here, you break down the structure into a revenue and a costs branch. Don't analyze both branches blindly. Rather, query with your interviewer which branch to focus on. Here are some of the other frameworks to focus on. Business situations. Potter's 5 forces, 4C framework, 4P framework, 2x2, and BCG Matrix SWOT Analysis. Potter's 5 forces is an established framework to assess market attractiveness for both new entrants and existing companies. A market is defined as a specific industry that sells similar products. The 5 forces are threat of a new entry, threat of substitute product, supplier power, buyer power, the competition. In general, the stronger the 5 forces are, the less attractive the industry is. Ask your interviewer questions that can help you better understand the 5 forces in that industry. This way, in your analysis, you can determine which force or forces are a factor and whether they do or do not pose a problem for your client. You should be aware that interviewers often see the usage of Porter's 5 forces as a last-ditch approach to solving a case. Using them gives the impression that you have no better way to structure the solution and use them to bail yourself out. Ideally, you should resort to the forces within a bigger, more general framework. 4C framework. The 4C framework is best applied in market entry or new product cases, as well as for general market analysis. It is composed of 4 elements and, of course, as per the name, they all start with C. Customer, competition, cost, capabilities. This structure is useful for getting a better understanding of the client during your case interview. The framework belongs to the basic tools that serve a general roadmap and reminder of the major aspects to cover. And while the first 2 C's provide information on external market conditions, the last 2 provide internal information about the company. 4P framework. The 4P framework, or marketing mix, can help you with cases where you need to introduce a new product to the market, or when you are facing a general growth case. It is composed of 4 elements and, of course, you guessed it, they all start with P. They are product, price, place, promotion. Use this framework to align a company's product to the right price, place, and promotion. The key to this framework type is to understand the distinctive characteristics of a company's 4 Ps in comparison to those of their competitors. 2x2 matrix. A 2x2 matrix is not a framework per se, but rather a simple and effective method of approaching a case and presenting information. It is very popular in consulting because it provides a big picture of the different options, depending on the matrix dimensions. The most well-known 2x2 matrix is the BCG Matrix, a term only to be used when applying at BCG. Also called the Growth Share Matrix, it helps assess a company's current product portfolio based on the product life cycle represented by market growth and relative market share, which mirror a company's experience curve. Investment or divestment decisions can be taken for single products based on these two criteria once they are plotted onto the matrix. Ideally, a product develops from question mark to a shooting star to a cash cow. Once it reaches the poor dog stage, low relative market share in a slow growing mature market, a company should divest. SWOT Analysis. A SWOT analysis is for determining whether a company's key strategies are aligned with its objectives and what obstacles need to be overcome. Internal positive factors are called strengths. Internal negative factors are called weaknesses. External positive factors are called opportunities. External negative factors are called threats. These that we have mentioned are some of the most common frameworks, and there are more at PrepLounge. Consultant crucial. Framework should not be applied directly, but rather used to assist you in building your own structure, as this is the single most important thing when tackling a case. Approaching other cases. Other types of cases that do not have a particular framework for better orientation are centered around finance, HR, Brainteasers, or very specific areas. Some other case examples are: assess Swatch's financial health. Why are gully covers round? Brainteasers are the most common. There are two types and they focus on a single issue: qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative are solved with an equation. No math, just the ability to translate a verbal problem into variables. Qualitative are solved logically, offering the right conclusion from given information. Using standard frameworks to create your own structure is a no-no here. Your goal: learn how to build issue trees and your own specifically tailored frameworks regardless of case context, industry or function. This way, nothing surprises you. You will never have that rabbit in the headlights moment. So that was the different case types. Be sure to check out some of the other Getting You There series videos aimed at successfully placing you in a role at a top consulting firm, which are mastering the case interview, how to approach the case interview, prepping for your case interview. I'm Matt, we are PrepLounge, see you in the next video.